No idea how I'm operating this thing. I can't reach the handlebars. Or the pedals. I'm ethereal.
This is Robert Christopher Weissenberg reading the lines from Feed the Dog.
Hey, buddy, I brought you some donuts.
On Returning to LA by Evie Huang. After, The World Keeps Ending and the World Goes On by Franny Choi. After the apocalypse, there was the apocalypse of flights. Flight to London, flight over stuffy freeways, flight making stomachs hit the tarmac at LAX. After the apocalypse, there was the apocalypse of poppies along the 210. There was the apocalypse of sobs sprouting past his street. There was the apocalypse of the leaving and the having left, of my heart unsticking itself from the arches of Madelyn as I returned to my childhood bed in a whirlpool of memories. After the apocalypse, there was the apocalypse of anxiety. There was the apocalypse of his name whispered, a snake's hiss in conversations, and the apocalypse of him as a stranger right in front of me. After which was the apocalypse of his car haunting me, after which was the apocalypse of therapy, of coaxing my crushed lungs to breathe again. After the apocalypse of his frail I'm sorry, the apocalypse of telling people, depressive episodes apocalypse, weeping in my car apocalypse. Apocalypse of my best friends living 1,842 miles away. There was the apocalypse of him walking with her at midnight, apocalypse of O seeing my anger for the first time. There was the, did you know they're dating? The poems pouring from my eyes, the friends having to pick and choose their words. I am emerging from the apocalypse and have come to tell you what I know, which is that the apocalypse had been murmuring for years. My therapist asked me to begin at the beginning. I don't know when it began. I wasn't listening. Yet now that the apocalypse has settled, I realize the world has slowed its ending. It was ending every day for a year. It kept ending, and another ending world spun in its place while I woke up and ordered English breakfast tea with oat milk, trying not to notice that everywhere the apocalypse was rumbling. This dear, beloved apocalypse. It has lazily drifted into the soil, letting wildflowers bloom in its palms.
Hot tub at the hotel. We are ears of corn to a boiling pot, scent of hot water tang and taste of salt. Some body parts in the motion of a jet. Here we are stuck between the teeth of bliss and death. Testing the newly assembled trampoline in the backyard in the rain on Easter. We are raising kids using our bodies while across the road the church fills and empties. We are still out here, glazed and waiting for spring. In the coldest hours, the clouds still open, like we can jump for them. Years from now, I will resurrect this. How we were ready to let go of whatever winter was. We stayed fortified, old knees and ankles braced, while the sky pummeled and the ground came for us, again and again. 1 minute in line at the pharmacy. I came from the third man my mother married. It was timing, I think. They met line dancing, and why not? He worked at Boeing and drove a Firebird. I used to blame him for leaving, but now I mostly see shades of adulthood in each day I spend living. There wasn't a time I felt close to him, but he sends gift cards to my children on holidays, and I remember he likes cherry cordials. The week before his birthday, a reminder pops up on my phone when I'm in line at the pharmacy. Hey Jude plays on the loudspeakers. Paul wrote it for John's son. No one's perfect, but imagine a man who loves you like a dad. In fact, sings you songs about how the world needs you to make it better. I would like that, I think. Anyone would, as I mail chocolate, as I hope it's cold enough out now to not melt.
An invocation for 40. All I want to do this year is hold this person I love, wrap my arms around their waist or back on every single goddamn dance floor of this country. I don't care if there are hurricanes surging, tornadoes brewing, floodwaters rising, or fires blazing around every corner. All I want to do is eat, sleep, and make my way to yet another dance floor with this person I love. The hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and fires are just gonna have to come find me there.
360-degree review. In the Management Essentials training, the one they require before promoting you from an individual contributor to a manager, they send a survey to your peers and your manager and your manager's manager, and they ask, if she was a household appliance, what kind would she be? If she was a car, what make and model would she be? What are her assets? What are her flaws? Your manager shares the results in your next one-on-one. Blender, mixes everything together and makes it taste good. Volvo, sturdy, reliable yet classy Euro performance car. Nice, helpful, too assertive, needs more confidence. And your mind wanders to that sorority initiation ritual, the one where you stood blindfolded in your matching Victoria's Secret bra and panties in the middle of a circle of frat boys who marked your belly button in Sharpie approval while leaving black X's on your inner thighs and A-cup breasts. And something in that moment holds you, like the pause between the click, click, click of an igniter and that instant when flames leap through the artificial logs and illuminate the room. Noticing. At the party, you hope they don't notice you noticing them. You notice how their skin glows, how their nails are manicured. You notice their outfit is new. You've never seen them in the same outfit twice. Sitting on the sectional, you are close enough to smell their newness, their hair products, the floral notes of the red wine you're drinking in the long-stemmed glass with the little charm at the base that looks like the Monopoly top hat, so your glass and theirs aren't confused at any point during the evening, although that couldn't happen because you hold your glass tightly throughout the evening because it helps you know what to do with your hands, and perhaps if you laugh at the wrong time, make a non sequitur, forget to agree by nodding, they will forgive you because they will think maybe you just had a little too much to drink. You lean in, but you are careful not to lean in too closely. Their hair seems perfect, their makeup perfect, not like a Fox News anchor, but natural, refined, queenly, you think, stately, like Elfrida, first Queen of England, King Edgar the Peaceful's wife. They exude understated wealth, old money even, though you know it is new money because you live in the West, and nearly everyone in the West who has money made it in the dot-com tech boom 20 years ago, although there are a few old money people starting to move here who you immediately recognize by their names, and it's possible they are one of them too, but you know they are not, because you remember their husband went to one of the regional state schools and had a startup, and she is a former airline pilot who used the orthokeratology process to reshape her cornea with a series of gas-permeable hard contact lenses, so then she could have 20/20 vision and would be allowed to fly packages across the country on brown and yellow UPS 747s. As you notice and listen and smile and hold the wine glass, you try to mirror their laughter, their raspy voices that make them sound like movie stars or bulimics or smokers or all of the above, all of which are sexy. There is a checklist for how they are, how they know how to be, how to check every box. For some reason you admire them, but you don't want to be them, but you think you should want to be them, but you can't, won't be them, not because you don't have the money they spend on the private trainer and the professional esthetician, but because you can't stand the thought of spending your money on either and getting naked in front of a stranger at the Korean day spa they talk about so a stranger can scrub dead skin off your body isn't going to happen, and because the last time you went to the hair salon, they asked if you wanted to wax your eyebrows and your upper lip, but it never occurred to you before that moment that you needed to do anything to your eyebrows or your upper lip, and because the details of their girlfriend retreat to the Palm Springs spa is unbearable and you can't tolerate having these conversations more than once each year at this holiday party, and because you want to be invited, don't want to be invited, want to attend, don't want to attend, can't, won't attend, but somehow you are here, obliged, leaning in, noticing the wine on your breath and theirs, noticing them noticing who and what is behind you. Detritus. Fractured eggshell glistening in the bottom of the bin, lined with what was once an ear of corn, and that, they say, is sustainable. Baggie of dog shit left at the base of the stop sign, provoking an internal narrative, unfairly characterizing my neighbors as lazy and inconsiderate bastards. Fingernails on the desktop, clipped during the Zoom one-on-one with my manager, who focused on my lack of productivity.
Mother is gone again. She often disappears, flees on her bicycle, and is gone until dark, or the next day. Who knows? Sometimes we catch her just as she is closing the screen door. She says she's going to take pictures of the sunset, her new camera dangling from her neck as proof. We know that the only truth in that cigarette-stained yellow kitchen is that our mother is a secret animal, unpredictable and dangerous. She'd evolved before us, hackles and fangs, and no more pretty birthday cakes. But we also know that she is out there, somewhere in the darkness. We will keep the porch light on just in case.
How to Quit Smoking Weed, a dark comedy. 1. Establishing the problem. Establish that you're afraid that you have a problem. That you're scared your lungs will just fall to ashes and you'll blow out your 40th birthday candle and you'll huff out dust like your grandfather's old vacuum cleaner. Embarrassing, right? 2. The smoking circle dilemma. Talk to your friends who smoke. Maybe they can offer some insight while one of you waits to roll up some weed. You tell them that you want to quit, that smoking just isn't doing the trick of releasing you from your earthly body. They tell you that holding it in longer makes the high stronger, but that's bullshit, debunked by science, not the advice you came for. You feel disgusted that you'd hurt yourself like this to begin with. You'd have to acknowledge that your parents fucked you up and you were underprepared to be an adult still wearing your shirt from 8 years ago. Pointing fingers at mommy and daddy, you should get them chopped off. You did this all on your own accord. 3. Isolation. You'll have realized that some friends aren't good all the time. Maybe you need to spend time with no one at all. Everything you've been searching for, that answer to help you quit overnight, will just become itself so easily. You'll smoke in secret while waiting for ghostly intervention. Maybe even the spirits will want some. Wake them up to a party. Dance among the stoners who did it before you. Blow that thick smoke and light some candles. Call in Bukowski. His tombstone said, "Don't try." Maybe you shouldn't quit now. The time isn't right. Bukowski has a point, even from the grave. He's just the right ghost to partake. 4. First attempt. Your first attempt wasn't even an attempt, more like a stunt. There's no one left to convince but yourself, your present self, the past one, the future version sitting at that table in front of your cake, smiling with plaque on your teeth. Get serious about it now. Today, lay it all at your feet. Put the pipe, the bong, the lighters where you can't reach. Put them in a locked box, forget the combination. Toss the key in the lake with all the alligators to safekeep. 5. Let's be honest with ourselves. Well, you're not perfect. This is just the addiction that grabbed you the most. Most people choose sugar, pills, liquor, self-loathing. You're in on that last one too. Don't listen to anyone sitting across from you in some IHOP at 3 a.m. saying, "You're an addict. You know that, right?" Just say yes to give them the satisfaction so they think that they're better than you. Just say yes to owning it. Just say yes. You can't feel your shame that way, right? You listen to them talk about how they haven't had a sip of water in 2 weeks or a vegetable in years, how they just can't get the person they want. There's nothing wrong with them. They're so perfect. Ha. Ha. Addiction to love is a thing too. While they down another drink with 200 grams of sugar, they'll be out of this worldly plane before you. But hey, we're all taken by the hand of something. You would rather leave the sweet skunk of Kush. 6. Alternative strategies. Ask your sober friends, what are the clean vices? They'll tell you about working out and breathing exercises that have been practiced by monks for millennia. It'll make you feel high, we promise. But none of them smoke or even have bad habits. They're all well-rounded, scared off by their bad experiences with weed. They don't understand how it helps you check out, how it helps you not dream of drowning in water too deep, dreams of lying in the alligator's jaws, diving for the key. But what do you know? They're enjoying their life without a substance. 7. Inevitable relapse. These didn't work. You couldn't even take a deep breath enough to make a difference, and you still haven't had a bad experience with weed. Not even that time you puked into your soup pot because the edible was too strong and it felt like termites were humming under your skin. Your face was melting into your pillow. You were stuck in a fetal position, begging your best friend to stay in your room so you don't sink into the springs in your mattress. Your best friend would have to pull you out piece by piece. Nah, that doesn't count. Revisit step 2. Your dealer Champagne has the best weed. Don't ask his real name. 8. Family ghosts. Where did you learn this habit of defeat? Bargain with yourself to light another one. You got black papers to look cool while you ruin yourself. Blow out a cloud that shapes into the locks of the Rasta man who raised you. 8 spliffs in the top pocket, close to his heart. Nothing else has made its way there. 9. Body. Your mother told you to stop eating because you're big enough. Well, smoke has no calories. It fills you with nothing, so you binge eat. Because sometimes that nothing leaves you chasing clouds, so you eat till you weigh as much as a boulder. God, bong hits give the worst munchies, but food is never this good sober. 10. Self-negotiation. Let's be honest. You don't want to be your father. You'll never be the size of your mother. Maybe a sweet middle. Something chocolate-filled. Maybe breathing is necessary. Maybe, just maybe, you want to be around in a couple years to breathe fresh air into your lungs instead of out of some oxygen tank. Being a part of the free world is a good thing. Keep telling yourself that. 11. The addictions narrative. Weed is fun. It's the only thing that brings back the feelings you thought were stolen. It makes everything better, doesn't it? It helps you forget your bills are due. You have to get up for work in 3 hours. You smoke some more because sleep hasn't met you halfway. Forget he never called you back. Forget you got blocked because you asked too many damn questions. Forget you never filled your tank. Forget you used your last 30 on an 8th. The next day, you woke up late. 12. Creative delusion. It helps with being creative, right? Yes, of course. The best ideas come when you can feel your heartbeat in your brain, when you're dancing in the kitchen in your underwear, when the music is so much better, and when you don't even care what the bugs think. But you can imagine him here, still laughing at your 2 left feet. This would make a great short story if you could remember it. 13. Breaking point. Cold turkey, you quit. But a piece of an edible doesn't count, just to take the edge off, just so you won't notice how dirty the floors are, so the boss's voice still sounds like, man, you'll never get that raise, how your dishes are molding in the sink, how you haven't cleaned your bathroom in at least 2 weeks, how you can't stop thinking your life is a chariot of horses released into a Roman ring, spared down head first, you can hear the cheering enemies. 14. Rock bottom. You feel closer to the edge than ever. You can't think. Your tangents are so long. Your friends think you've lost the plot. You're trying to rake through the fog. You're not writing anymore. You have to smoke to eat. Your mucus is yellow. Lowness you'll meet. Cough it up in the sink. Lower than the bottom of the ocean, swollen with people's judgments. Your skin is tight. You look at least 3 years older. Your lips are black and stripped. You don't know if you're high today because what does the world even feel like when you're sober? You don't know who you're seeing in the mirror, and you need to smoke to think it over. 15. Resistance. It's been 3 weeks now. You haven't touched the tail. You have to grip your steering wheel and tell the car to keep driving straight. No detours to the smoke shop, even though it's 2 for Tuesdays. But soon the gum rot will leave you with no teeth. You can't be a gentle parent to yourself. A ball of desire with no ropes to bind your legs, your debit card, or your fingers to a pole. So you lock yourself away as if it's a full moon every night. Force yourself to type this and that. Put the cravings on the paper. Howl when you can't sleep. Wake up the neighbors. It's better to stay away because you are easily led astray by the things that hurt you. You're easily distracted when your insides hurt and your anxiety's eating your mind. It'll all pass in due time. It's never a good time when it's your turn to be sober. Don't apply this to alcohol, sugar, or love. I'm no expert, just a lonely girl looking for a hug. This is just what worked for me.
Pretty Boys, Dirty Cats by Josh Hezel. The train attendant stops in front of me, says, "Get your feet off the seat." He wears this pale blue collared shirt tucked into pants 2 sizes too small. Stomach spills over waistband in a collapsing way. He looks like he likes telling people what to do. I lower my feet without looking him in the eyes. Across the aisle, there's this guy about my age reading Murakami, Kafka on the Shore. I tell him it's my favorite book. It isn't. It doesn't matter. I'll never see him again. His big brown eyes smile at me as he tells me his name. I don't return the favor and tell him mine. He starts talking anyway. Arlington, used to drive to Santa Fe, truck got sold, some story about his dad. It all sounds like something someone else would care about. He studies history at Harvard. Says he wants to write. Says he wants to teach. I don't bother telling him where I go to school. His lips move in a soft, deliberate way, and I notice myself noticing. Mother would call him a corn-fed southern boy who can read, which is supposed to be rare. Says he's putting it all on hold while he works on a startup, and I feel something in me tighten, then give up. Startup boys always talk like they're auditioning for a commercial. He tells me how he's friends with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s kid, how he gets coke for all the Harvard boys. He shrugs. I look out the window. We've hit the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, or whatever counts as mountains out here. Brown slopes with scattered green, bushes that look too small to matter. I've never seen a mountain before, and the Appalachians don't count because I slept through them drugged on Dramamine, trying not to throw up in the back seat. But that was years ago. Later I'm in bed with the woman I brought on this trip. Or maybe she brought me. I can't remember. I'm inside of her, fingers moving, thumb pressing, the motion's automatic, practice. She moans, she moves, wants something. I don't. Out the window there's a cat walking along the top rail of a metal fence. Brown, gray stripes, too many toes, stops, licks a paw, looks at me. It looks right at me. The bed creaks and the street hums. She comes, loudly, says, "Oh my God," like it's an announcement. And my jeans on, bag too. She's still there in bed, smiling, moaning, or just breathing. I leave. The cat's gone. Room smells like sweat and dust. Nothing else. I find the cat. It's covered in fleas. Smells like piss and something metallic. Maybe blood. I make friends with him anyway. I name him Nasty Boy because it's apt and because he isn't going to correct me. He doesn't talk, not like the Murakami cats, and I wonder if the boy on the train has gotten to the part with the talking one yet. I hope he has. So I sit with Nasty Boy in this courtyard of the Santa Fe International Hostel, and I read House of Incest to him. I bought the Nin the moment I saw the title, even though I didn't know anything about it. The title was enough. Guests walk past and stare at the cat's extra toes. Someone says something about how many there are. He mews in agreement. Some guy tells this story about doing shrooms and watching the full moon rise last night. He said it was orange, the biggest he's ever seen. Another guy, the right way to cook a potato. I listen to them both without responding. Nasty boy stretches, then drops his whole weight on Nin, purring like this is the only place he's supposed to be. The next day, she takes me to a bug and reptile museum in a dead mall. Air feels stalled, thick fluorescent light, carpet hasn't been cleaned in years. Rows of glass boxes glow in the dimness, terraria arranged like an attempt at order. Insects pulse inside, collected detritus of the desert, held for our eyes. She presses a lizard into my hands, cold and prehistoric. I hand it back after a moment and walk away. I find the stick bugs. Brown bodies sway in the phantom of wind. There's a dozen, 100, maybe thousands in that box. A handler tells me they're all female. Says they make copies of themselves. Say reproduction is inevitable, automatic. They kill them sometimes just to make room for more. Life generates itself into excess. I tell him it's beautiful, though the word feels thin. She returns with the same lizard cupped in her hands. She has given it a name. I want one. I ask why. They can't love, can't learn their names. She looks at me like I'm the one missing something. I can't imagine what. Everyone seems to go to bed early here, with one collective sigh exhaled, and the town collapses in on itself. The businesses open from noon to 7. It feels more like a compromise than a schedule, as if time works differently this high and everyone adjusted without talking about it. It's 9 at night and the streets are empty, like a stage set and the actors have departed, doors locked, windows black. There's nowhere to get a beer, nowhere to sit with strangers in a shared community of travel. I want a beer, and to sit with Nasty Boy, feel the small hum of his body against my ankles, but he disappeared last night, slipped into the darkness like the rest of the town quietly, without explanation. I keep thinking I'll see him when I turn a corner. Too many toes, piss-stained fur. He'll look up at me with blank, necessary devotion. But night stays empty. Everything here vanishes as soon as you learn how to hold it, sand falling between the cracks in my fingers. The others at the hostel are discussing their dreams, sitting around a fire. What if when you accomplish your dreams, you're unaware of it? One asks. I don't know. I tell him that I often dream that I am floating away, falling upwards. The world beneath me becomes a map I can't read, and I wake up drenched in sweat. And it's not the fear of falling, but of being so high, of seeing it all. He nods, and I think he gets it. He tells me his dream is to build sandcastles and live in them like some sand king. In the plaza downtown, I sit under one of the tallest trees I've seen here. Taller here just means taller than most. Most of the trees are stunted by the desert heat. I've gone downtown since arriving here. My main goal is to find a bookshop. The bookshops are different here too. More Marcel Proust and Gertrude Stein. Maybe the people here are more literate. I found a cafe I would frequent if I lived here. A place where I'd fall in love, or find a week-long distraction, whichever came first. Joy Harjo is doing a reading on Saturday, but I leave tomorrow. Timing is its own kind of punishment. The plaza is the oldest part of the city. A little park. I've seen houses bigger. I'm reading Cesare Era, and it isn't until I've just finished Bolaño's introduction to the novel when I am interrupted by the noise of a contemporary Christian pop music blasting through a PVPA in the middle of the plaza. I look towards the sound and spot 7 children sporting karate outfits, black belts and all, convulsing in a choreographed seizure called dance to this abuse on my eardrums. One is dressed like Jesus, another dressed in a black robe. They chase each other around a fountain. It's religious psychosis masqueraded as family entertainment. The first time I came to the city was on a mission trip my parents forced upon me. I was made to work on a radish farm for a week. What that had to do with being a good Christian was beyond me. I had lost my virginity to a hippie who smelled like patchouli and strawberries the week prior. We listened to the Grateful Dead in the woods, and leaves stuck to his ass with sweat and cum. My parents said I was going down a wrong path, as if there was only two, and they had held the map. Something they don't tell you. Alcohol hits harder up here. It lifts you too quickly. I'm stumbling through the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, letting the cool white walls hold me up. There's a plaque explaining how she despised the fact that people thought she was painting vaginas. I stare at the soft folds and impossible openings and can't understand how it wasn't on purpose. In the back gallery, there's a shredded canvas, a piece she hated so violently she tore it from its frame and split it open. A wound blooming in the center. I stand in front of the ruin longer than I mean to. I think about going back to the hostel and tearing the pages out of my journal, split words apart, create a gap large enough to walk through. At a festival 30 minutes outside of town, she follows me in my footsteps. Never once more than 2 feet away, her proximity feels less like affection and more like a shadow I can't shake. I don't know how to tell her I only want her this close when we're fucking, and even then, I'm thinking of leaving. Or maybe about someone else. Maybe the boy on the train. The truth is, I don't know how to want. No, that's not it. I keep moving forward, hoping she will drift off on her own. She doesn't. She tells me my hair is the color of cinnamon. I want to thank her. Let myself be softened by the compliment. I really do. Instead, I say hers is the color of shit. No, almond, or maybe chestnut. She laughs. I really wish she wouldn't. That night, she reaches out for me again, under the single sheet provided to cover our sweating bodies. And I let it happen because it's easier than refusing. Stopping requires explanation. I stare at the box fan in the corner of the room, its blades turning like a clock set to overdrive. The room smells wrong. I imagine a boy's lips wrapped around me, not one in particular, just not hers. When gasping for air, she whispers my name, and I let the fan fill my silence. When I return the favor between her legs, it feels borrowed, like I am filling in for myself. Afterwards, she presses the sweaty strands of her bangs to my chest. She's listening for something. The red meat of her tongue licks up the mess in the coil of my pubes, and I say I'm sorry, not loud enough to be heard. I tell myself I'll come back. But as the breath leaves my lungs, so does the lie dissolve. Some places only hold you once. The cat doesn't return. I brush the dust off my jeans and walk to the train station. The mountains look flatter on the way out, like someone turned the contrast down. She sleeps beside me with her mouth slightly open, and I watch the small shrubs blur past. My phone buzzes with a text from a number I don't recognize. Hey. Probably some boy or someone with the wrong number. I don't answer. The sky is too blue. The air is too thin. Everything feels like it's happening 2 inches to the left. And I close my eyes and pretend the motion is taking me somewhere I haven't already been.
I was 18. Good. One of the better. I am not a villain. Circumstances. Hackneyed life. Do you wonder why I elected the malevolent? I know. I should have been superior, but I was turned desperate. My disgust. The poison of life. I have a right, and I will get it, cost what it may. Thank God, he exclaimed. Think what might have happened. His breath short and strained. It was a strange, long nightmare. My solution should make you nervous. Fasten the door securely. Don't you hear the beating against the window panes? Look here. Troops shifted to the west, filing off in long columns. I was tired with misfortune. I read, I must go out of the world to a lonely place where we might live and make our own heaven. Never. I was ordered. I hated. I begged. Look at me. I'm going without a protest. I suppose I cried. They've sent me a vision. Someday they'll end all that's bright of me. It's true, too. Look at him and see if it's not. I could see them through the window, smiling brightly. Maybe she did not know. Perhaps she said something I did not want.
Burning bush. Mudslides, brush fires, coastal erosion, earthquakes, mass killings, etc. We can relax and enjoy these disasters because in our hearts we feel that California deserves whatever it gets. California invented the concept of lifestyle. Don DeLillo, White Noise. This past January, Los Angeles burned. At least that's what the media narrative I received in rural Pennsylvania. I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley. Every summer, a litany of brush fires, apocalyptically tinged sunsets. In 1979, my maternal grandfather, Donald Higbee, came down from San Jose to visit after one firestorm had come close enough that ashes fell like gray snowflakes on our lawn in Monrovia. On TV, kids stuck out their tongues to catch snow. I struggled to repress that temptation. Flames had decimated a rich enclave, Bradbury, less than half a mile away. So we climbed in the station wagon to bear witness to the devastation. Concrete foundations and chimneys were all that remained on most lots, except for one, as if the angel of death had passed over, painted on its front door, "As for me and my house, we serve the Lord." And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light. Exodus 13:21. The earliest known Spaniard to pass through the area, Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, referred to San Pedro as Bahía de los Fumos de Fuegos in 1542, Bay of Smoke or Fires. Los Angeles in the 1970s proved the last days were upon us. My first memory, not quite 3, is being tossed out of bed during the 1971 Sylmar quake. At Pasadena Christian School, air raid drills prepared us for a nuclear attack. Jesus or our desks would save us. Grandpa Higbee was a contradiction. My only forebear with a college degree, in engineering nonetheless, but also the one most easily drawn into fringe religious movements and ideologies. He attended Jim Jones People's Temple in San Francisco for a short time and frequented the Rosicrucian Pyramid. Dispensationalism, the belief in the rapture, consumed him once he read Hal Lindsey's late great Planet Earth. Then the Lord rained down upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. Genesis 19:24. Each evangelist who visited Emmanuel Assembly of God thundered that we were Gomorrah to San Francisco's Sodom, that God would apologize to those cities at the Last Judgment for not destroying us quickly enough. They never failed to take their children to Disneyland. Water and fire are paradoxical symbols within the biblical myth, both destructive and life-affirming. God destroyed humanity in the Great Flood, and Christ promised living water. Hell was a lake of fire, and the Holy Ghost appeared as flames on the apostles' heads. It was a pleasure to burn. Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451. What makes fire so mesmerizing? Or am I just a pyromaniac? Or a moth? In 6th grade, a friend told me his uncle burned the warts off his hand with a match. My dermatologist had used liquid nitrogen, but the warts came back half the time. Holding a match to your skin until it blisters is difficult. You have to fight the body's desire to pull away. Once the blister forms, pierce the flesh, drain the water, and rip off the skin. Then burn the exposed raw layer. The wart never returns. Burning and cutting, I read later, are common in trauma victims. That was the year the abuse began. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. Exodus 3:2. Turning water into wine, raising the dead were miracles I could understand. A bush that burned without consuming lacked purpose. Charlton Heston standing before the Technicolor burning bush in the Ten Commandments reduced the supernatural to the obscenely artificial. I was raised Pentecostal, evangelical, and fundamentalist, the holy trifecta. To outsiders, those might seem like synonyms, but they're more accurately described as a Venn diagram with my church at the center. Pentecostal, we spoke in tongues. Evangelical, we wanted to proselytize the world. Fundamentalist, every word in the Bible was literally true, no metaphor. One Christmas, when I was 11, my family went to Hawaii, our first vacation on an airplane. On the Big Island, we peered into Kilauea, bubbling lava escaping from the lake of fire. Last year, in my composition class, a student asked to write his argument paper proving that God exists. When I told him that theologians had wrestled with this for millennia, and there is no definitive proof, he told me we were living in the last days, that all the prophecies had finally come to pass. I informed him that every generation, from the time of Christ to the present, has thought they were the last. He seemed unconvinced. Google Hal Lindsey's late great planet Earth. I said, GPT wrote his assignments, which might have been the best evidence that the Antichrist is alive and well. In the 1980s, a rumor spread that the supercomputer in Brussels that ran the world's banking was nicknamed the Beast. My son believes his generation is considerably more atheistic than the preceding ones. Maybe. Or will the increase in firestorms and flooding due to climate change persuade people that the perpetually promised apocalypse is nigh? Immersion. My mother is a fish. William Faulkner. As I lay dying. In the early 1970s, Arco gave away pairs of Arco animals with each tank of gas. A station was next to our church, Emmanuel, so my father filled up each Sunday after the morning service. I liked collecting things, wheat pennies, feathers, baseball cards, and even at 4, fixated on completeness. All the animals, check. The ark, check. Noah and his wife, no. The toy box and the church nursery, however, had both. The human body is not 70 to 80% water, the fact I grew up with, except in infancy. It decreases rapidly to 60% in males and 55% in females. At San Dimas High's outdoor pool in early June 1988, my first day as a lifeguard, A fifth grader walked to the end of the diving board, looked down into 12 feet of chlorinated water, and slunk back to the ladder. His classmates began teasing him, so he reversed direction again. I knew how this would end up and told him he should climb down, but he seemed more terrified of his peers than drowning and stepped off the end. Fortunately, humans are relatively buoyant, and his head popped up, but he was struggling and his eyes locked on mine. Save me. Less than a second to reach him, and maybe 2 more to pull him to the side. During fetal development, humans possess pharyngeal arches. They resemble gills, but actually have nothing to do with underwater breathing. Early in the development of evolutionary theory, it was surmised they might be a remnant from our aquatic past, but that was eventually dismissed. Creationists, including my biology teachers at Maranatha High School, used the simple fact that they are not gills to refute evolution. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth, to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. Genesis 6:17. A 2023 Scientific American article contends that comets were not the primary source of water on Earth. Their deuterium to regular hydrogen ratios are simply too high. The hydrogen carried on solar wind has a ratio that is too low. Carbonaceous chondrites, a type of meteorite, hold water with a ratio that is much closer. The author posits that our planet's water resulted from all 3 sources, as well as reactions within the Earth of hydrogen and oxygen present at its formation. Do you want me to sign up to get baptized with Tim and Deb? Water generally follows the path of least resistance, my lifelong strategy with my father. Much of my fear of speaking in tongues, being baptized in the Holy Ghost, was that the congregation would stare. At Foothill Christian Center, the baptismal font was behind the pulpit, the focal point of every congregant. My brother was 8 and my sister 11. If I said no, my father would question my faith and conviction, would commit himself to saving my soul, which was not lost, just introverted. At 4, I clearly had the devil in me. Most Sunday mornings and evenings, I sat in the sanctuary next to my mother listening to the sermon. But one night she put me in the nursery with my sister. My sin felt both premeditated and instinctual. I reached for the 2-inch tall figures at the bottom of the toy box and pulled out a wooden dog with the same action, my diversion. Emmanuel's nursery was also the pastor's secretary's office. I found a space under a table to feign interest in the dog while slipping Noah and his wife into my pocket. During the 2-hour service, I pulled the dog in circles, praying the bulge in my pants would not condemn me. I had seen that look 5 or 6 years before in my parents' pool. A young son of some church friends was in the shallow end and accidentally let go of the side. His head wouldn't break the surface, and I could read the terror in his eyes, and gently nudged him back to the edge. None of the adults noticed. The boy, realizing he was safe, started letting go on purpose, knowing I wouldn't let anything happen. NOAA's website, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, mentions that more than 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. Does the acronym mean the planet is doomed and they'll pack us up in a spaceship made of gopher wood? The theft was the easy part. Enjoying my prize more problematic. Monday morning, while my mother was washing the breakfast dishes, I introduced Noah and his wife to their animal charges and the boat. Not wanting my mother to see the loot, I played behind my father's lazy boy. When the dishes were done, she came in and questioned why I was behind the chair. I held out Noah and his wife and confessed, although in retrospect I doubt she would have realized my set was incomplete. She was furious and spanked me with a wooden spoon. Stealing from the church could not be tolerated. That was the preamble. When my father came home, he worked across the street from my grandfather's United Evangelical Churches. He would deal with me. When I was in 4th or 5th grade, my mother inherited about $10,000 from her grandmother. We were staunchly working class, although my parents always defined us as middle. I remember my mother paying bills at the end of the month, knowing exactly how long it would take before the check would be charged against her account. Instead of paying off debt or creating a college fund, my parents opted for a swimming pool. The rapture was predicted before my high school graduation. Emmanuel was a tiny church without a baptistry. Pastor Cheney thought our new pool would be perfect for baptisms, an LA interpretation of the Jordan River. As a 10-year-old watching my pastor immerse white-robed members in the shallow end, memories of peeing in that spot and playing Marco Polo kept invading my mind. Maybe my early sin against the church prevented my father from ever expressing pride in me. Experience tells me he inherited his own father's lack of the milk of human kindness. But when he came in and my mother told him, the belt came off. He that spareth his rod hateth his son. I don't remember physical pain, just his visceral anger, and him telling me I would have to confess to Pastor Cheney Wednesday night before service. Confessing to my pastor was humiliating. I knew thou shalt not steal, and the wages of sin is death. So when he repeated those verses, I acted contrite and penitent, promising never to sin again. From that point on, my place was next to my mother in the sanctuary. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing into everlasting life. John 4:14. Baptisms at Foothill Christian Center, the church we switched to, followed a schedule, the final Sunday night of each month. That evening, it was my siblings, me, and one older woman. After the offertory, we filed into a special room behind the sanctuary, one I had never entered. Pastor Gaston told me, as the oldest male, I would be first, then the other woman, my brother, and my sister. He directed us to changing rooms to get into our swimsuits and robes. When he called me into the baptismal font, I made sure not to look out into the congregation and stepped forward. I pinched my nose as he said, "In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost." And as he immersed me, I baptize you. I emerged to a few amens and hallelujahs and walked past my brother to the changing room, feeling no different. If anyone who was suffering in the body or the spirit walked through the waters of the fountain of Bethsaida, they would be healed, washed clean of pain. Tony Kushner, Angels in America, Part 2, Perestroika. Thalassophobia encompasses both the fear of deep waters and the fear of drowning. Each summer from the age of 7, I took Red Cross swim lessons at Arcadia High's outdoor pool. Beginner twice, advanced beginner, intermediate, swimmer. Water than I could stand in terrified me. And back then, on the last day of each 2-week session, kids were required to jump off the diving board to pass. Having a backyard pool did not diminish the fear. We had a slide into 5 feet of water, and my parents bribed me to go down, probably a quarter. I climbed the ladder, which was not much taller than I, sat at the top, then clutched the top rail while my feet had nearly reached the bottom. My father snapped a photo. It's ensconced in an album next to one of my brother's swollen face from a bee sting. I preferred books to toys, except my Noah's Ark. While the crew installed our pool, my brother and his friend Jamie threw my Arco animals into the flood control channel behind our house. They were irretrievable. His actions were warranted. I tormented him as only an older brother could. About 15 years ago, I found Arco sets on eBay. I now have 2 sets, one in original packaging, and another was for my kids to play with. Although without a biblical upbringing, neither was interested. Nostalgia and trauma can be difficult to navigate. In 1995, I brought Claire, my wife, to California to introduce her to my parents. Although she attended Pomona College, she had never been to Catalina. We biked around the island, and afterwards I suggested snorkeling at Avalon Beach. Despite having anxiety, asthma, and no experience, she agreed, the chance to swim with fish winning out. I had learned in our pool with gear from Kmart, and once went in Kauai. After a few frantic attempts, she figured it out. Years later, we took Blake and Julian snorkeling in Sulphur, Iceland, in a crevice created by the North American and Eurasian plates pulling apart. The water was crystal, barely a degree above freezing. The age requirement was 13, so we added 2 years to Julian's on the waiver. This past week, he snorkeled in the Galapagos. Last fall, Claire and Blake went in Bermuda. Even though our last common ancestor was 470 million years ago, swimming among a school of fish feels natural. According to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory at Caltech, 6 moons in our solar system likely have liquid water oceans beneath their outer surface. Jupiter's moons Callisto, Europa, and Ganymede, Saturn's moons Enceladus and Titan, and Neptune's moon Triton. Since all life on Earth requires at least some liquid water to exist, scientists look for evidence of water when searching for extraterrestrial life. Researchers at NOAA speculate that as many as 25% of exoplanets have liquid water, although it may be subsurface. Water everywhere. My lifeguard training has taught me that I am safe in the water, regardless of depth, but the phobia has merely been transferred to others, most notably my children. Our local pool, the Danville Area Community Center, offered swimming lessons. I had worked with Blake on my own, but knew formal lessons were more effective. From the gallery, I watched, ready to dive in and rescue her, even though they all wore life vests. As she progressed onto the swim team, the fear did not abate. Julian, who screamed during his first lessons, generated more anxiety. Anytime either was in the water, I was on maximum alert. Boat trips were dreadful, whether taking the ferry across Puget Sound to see my parents or touring Anchorage Bay. I imagined them falling into the frigid waters and me diving in after them. Only recently, while walking along the coast near Anacortes, Washington, did I realize if Blake fell in, she was a far stronger swimmer than I. She'd be okay.